Hello, everyone. My name is Mark Vina, host of the SmartTechCheck podcast. Today is Friday, December 15th, 2023. HP's Amplify program aims to transform its global channel partner engagement. Focused on simplification and innovation, the initiative streamlines interactions, enhances partner experiences, and encourages market expansion through digital transformation. By offering incentives and rewards, HP seeks to foster collaboration, differentiation, and mutual growth with resellers and distribution partners. Amplify underscores HP's commitments to adapting to industry trends, supporting partners in their digital evolution, and reinforcing its position as a technology leader dedicated to facilitating seamless and mutually beneficial partnerships. To deep dive into some of the latest changes to its Amplify program, I'm joined by Mary Beth Walker, HP's head of global channel strategy. Mary Beth, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Hey, Mark. I'm great. Thank you for inviting me.
Happy to have you on here. And I mean, let's face it, products and technology tends to get a lot of the attention. But as someone who's been around the block a little bit, like yourself, from a business experience standpoint, distribution programs are so important. And I really want to have this conversation because some people don't give it the consideration that it should get. And HP's been very committed to this part of their business model for many, many years. Before we do that, though, I like to have people. I've had you on the podcast before, but I love to have people talk a little bit about their background. So let's do that. Let me bring a slide up here, and let's talk about you first and foremost, Mary Beth. Talk about Mary Beth.
Okay, great. Thanks. So right now I am, yes, the head of global channel strategy. And so that basically means I wake up every morning and do everything I can to make sure that we are the vendor of choice for our partners and that they really love doing business with us. Prior to that, I managed global accounts and some of our large go-to-market enterprise initiatives here at HP. And also worked at Sun Microsystems for about 14 years. Before that, I was there until the acquisition by Oracle. And that was a mix of professional services, sales operations, inside sales, product sales, all kinds of things. But you'll notice that it wasn't channel. It wasn't really until about 6 years ago that I actually got involved in anything other than Fortune 500 accounts. And I love working with the channel. It's been great since then.
Oh, and the types of partners that HP has is really amazing. I mean, it's not just cookie cutter type of partners. I mean, you'll go into, I'm sure, in a little bit of detail. But I've been to some of your channel events, and just the variety and diversity is beyond belief. So it's a very impressive part of the HP arsenal in terms of the way it goes to market. But let's talk about this whole notion of a unified global partner experience. I mean, it's very colorful language, but how is this Amplify for All initiative? How would you summarize it, and what's the highlights?
Yeah, so the highlights really are that we knew that we needed to move away from or beyond a performance only based program to both keep partners, again, happy with what we're doing together, but also to be able to give us better ways and more levers to take advantage of partners who are investing in advanced capabilities. So the program actually has 3 flavors: a reseller flavor, a distribution flavor, and a retail flavor, but they're all built on the same framework made up of 3 pillars, one being performance, one being capabilities, and the last being collaboration, which means mostly data collaboration at this point, and some, investment that we've made in data sharing with partners that we think really gives us the ability to go after more business than we've ever been able to before.
Interesting. And what are some of the things, and we'll probably get into this a little bit more over the next couple of slides, when the business motivation factors, because the Amplify program has been around for a little bit of time, give me a little bit of a taste of the behind the scenes activity that goes on at the managed level in terms of the kind of the key pillars or things that you look at that says, we really have to adapt our strategy. Obviously, there are things that happen in the macro market that drive that as well. But are there a couple things you can share with the audience in terms of, here are the 2 things that we really look at that tells us, we have to adapt our program to be more effective?
Well, what customers want from us is really what drives everything at the end of the day. And what we've seen with the different ways that customers want to consume technology, that's been a huge driver for us. Also, the way that they buy and from multiple partners involved in one particular deal. So the whole co-sell motion is something that, we need to make sure that we are ready to adapt and that we're ready to be able to take on as our portfolio continues to diversify, and partners can play in various pieces of an opportunity.
Well, and this is the thing to me that's absolutely remarkable, because again, I just think that everybody thinks, because we're so Amazon happy and everybody orders stuff and it shows up at your doorstep. The whole notion of distribution, which has been around for years, it will continue to be around for years. It's not going anywhere, because many customers acquire their products, their technology solutions from different channels and different types of entities in terms of the way they kind of bring technology into their organizations. But let's talk about this notion of doubling down on distribution and what HP Amplify is doing to really kind of solidify, making sure that that's optimized as much as possible.
Yeah, so we've watched very carefully the kind of evolution of distribution over the last few years in particular. And there were a couple of things that we noticed. One being that, we've gone from an environment where most distributors did the same kinds of things to an environment where some distributors are going in different directions than others, and what they're choosing as their strategy is very different from distributor to distributor. So we needed to be able to build something that had the flexibility for us to take advantage of that. And that's really the beauty of the capabilities part of the program, is it allows us to be able to look at where different disties are investing in different capabilities, platforms, software, all things like that we're able to take advantage of. And, I say we meet you where you are. So for, the important thing that we want to get across first and foremost is to the distribution partners who are really focused on transactional business. They love doing that. We love them doing that, and we want them to keep doing that. We kept all of the, kind of fundamental pieces and the benefits in the way that we reward them for the work that we do together. We don't want them to feel like they would ever be left behind. Okay. Mm-hmm. So we meet them where they are. And then on the other side, you have some distributors who are really investing in advanced capabilities, in digital platforms and things like that we want to be able to say, okay, how do we actually go work with them? And it's a one or many or all situation. And we call that the growth plays part of the program. And what it allows us to do is basically to build bundles of offerings and specializations. If you think of it kind of as the, 2024 version of specializations, that's really kind of a simplistic way to look at it. But basically, we're going to say, if you have these capabilities and you meet this criteria, let's go to do business together, because we have this portfolio and these offerings, and together we have incremental opportunity to be able to go after. And it doesn't have to look the same for every distribution partner. So between the two pieces, the fundamental piece and the growth plays piece, we think that we have a more robust program and way to deal with distributors than we ever have before.
Well, and I mentioned that before, because all distributors are not alike, and the same, and you do have to treat different partners not in a different way, in a prejudicial type of way, but some partners, they're located in different parts of the world where they may have particular strength, and their customer base is where they're located. There's other avenues you could look at in terms of the way they kind of are construct their business model, but you can't look at it, again, I use that phrase, cookie cutter, in a cookie cutter type of way. And I think that's essentially what you're saying here, is that we have to treat every single partner and work with them on their uniqueness and in terms of what their value proposition is.
Yeah, absolutely. It gives us the ability to really have more strategic conversations with each individual distie and come up with joint business plans that really are joint business plans that we're going to go execute on together, that takes advantage of our combined capabilities and what we have to offer to the resellers and ultimately the customers.
Right. Well, now let's get it down to about 1,000 feet here in terms of the specific benefits for commercial partners. You've got 3 programs, I think, that you've kind of rolled out, but
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about each of them in terms of what the details are.
Okay, sure. So we'll start with more for more. And the intention with more for more is that we really want to be able to entice our partners to sell across the portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
And, we've been able to actually put incremental money for benefits for partners who are doing that. We tried to make it as simple and easy as possible. They basically get a target that, from a product mix perspective, right now it's mostly focused on PC peripherals and services. We intend to add print over time. But basically, if you get to the mix of the target that we've given you, you get a booster and you get it back from $1.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it is a brand new and incremental opportunity for the partners. Fast Lane is actually focused on MDF and the claimings process, which none of us are ever satisfied with how it works. But we really took the approach much like airport security. So, if you have no kind of background or track record or anything with TSA or with the airlines, you're getting in one line.
Uh-huh.
If you have, different credentials, basically you get in a special line. And to us, that special line is Fast Lane based on the partners who have for years always given us the right information, the right proof, the right, invoices on time with the detail we need. And they just have a great track record for doing that. So we said, you know what, like, why are we going to make them do it every single time? They still have to keep all the records for every event and every activity that they do with us, but they don't have to give it to us. We will audit them once a quarter, make sure that they, are continuing to keep up with that. And as long as they are, as soon as they send us the proof of execution of any event or activity, we're going to pay them immediately. So it cuts between 50 and 60% of the time out of the cycle, and we're able to really, pay them much more quickly.
Well,
And there's about 500 partners.
I bet your partners love that.
They are loving it. And the early feedback is great. And what's really interesting about it, Mark, is that it's also given us a pipeline of partners are getting in line. They're like, what do I need to do to get there? And so we're able to really lay out and encourage them. So we hope that the number continues to grow and grow.
Great.
Now, growth plays, I talked a little bit about earlier. As I said, they're kind of our new version of specializations. So some of them might have certification that's required. Some of them might have capabilities that are required, things like that. So each one can individually have different criteria that we're looking at and different benefits that we're providing back to the partners. So if it's something in software, then we might give them completely different benefits than someone who's in managed services. And so again, it allows us to optimize for where the partner is and what they want to sell. And so that's really a way for us to look at how we do get more strategic, both about how we create opportunities where our strategic initiatives and growth areas are, and we can couple them with the strategic initiatives of the partners.
Now, speaking of strategic initiatives, and we'll talk a bit in more detail in the next slide. Are you getting any feedback because I can't do a podcast without mentioning the 2 magic letters AI. Everybody's talking about AI, the opportunities, and especially at the partner level. This incredible movement toward AI-based data centers, AI-based hardware. AMD had some spectacular announcements last week, which, by the way, you're a big partner with AMD. And give me if you were kind of representing the the reseller community. What do you hear most in terms of AI and what they're thinking about in terms of what the opportunity is, maybe concerns, how they optimize that opportunity, which is coming, and and probably next year will be a big year for resellers, specifically focused on AI based solutions. But any color can you provide on that?
So I would say really we're at the point now where it's about education and discovery. Okay.
Hmm.
All of us need to get way more educated on both the things we should be concerned about and the power of what we can do and how we can do it. It's one of the reasons that we, a few years ago, started asking our partners to provide data to us about the customers that they sell to. We now have a much, much richer set of data that we can use to help understand where partners want to go and the kinds of, customers want to go and how they'll make decisions. Are they ready to buy? Things like that. So we'll use AI to the extent that we can to help really target and use that as a way to qualify leads better, things like that. Obviously, the company is looking at ways to build AI into our hardware, and we think that there's a great opportunity there as well. But again, I think a lot of people are like, we know we got to use it. We know it's going to be awesome. How we're actually going to do it, don't know. And so we're looking at how do we provide them help with the education,
Yep.
help with where we see the opportunities, and help them lean in and be able to take advantage of those things as quickly as they can. But I see it kind of being a little slower over the next maybe year, but it's going to ramp fast, and we all have to be ready for it. And I think the great thing is partners realize that, and they're really anxious to work with us on what does that look like.
No, it's going to be. I admire your optimism in terms of, hey, well, maybe it'll be. I mean, you guys are obviously looking in a very deliberate manner because you're not going to want to incorporate things that's not ready for prime time. But in terms of the adoption of the technology at a macro level, I think the opportunity is going to be huge. So I imagine your partners are going to push you a lot on, hey, how can we? Yeah, and I'm sure you're fine with that. But that kind of begs the question here in terms of, and this is the crystal ball question. When you look in the future, and it's hard in the technology space, it's always hard to look, 10, 20 years, and that's impossible to ask. That would be incredibly unfair for me to ask you that question. But over the next 24, 36 months, 2-3 year horizon, how do you see the pieces in terms of how the program might expand? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, sure. So Amplify Impact on this particular slide page is really our sustainability program. So let me talk about that first.
Yeah, sure.
So Amplify Impact is the sustainability program. We were the first vendor to put one in place, and it really had two objectives. The first and foremost, the objective at the beginning, which was 3 years ago now that we introduced it, was to help our partners create their own strategy around sustainability. What are they going to do as a company? What are their goals going to be? How do they create a sustainability report? How do they know what initiatives even are? What does reporting look like? Those kinds of things. So we said, look, we've already invested a lot in that. A lot of partners, in particular small partners, they're not going to be able to afford to do that. So let's make what we've done available to them to be able to leverage. And that's been a huge success. And I would say we're so much further with partners who actually do have strategies and plans now, do create reports. And, so that part of the program has actually been fantastically successful. Then we started to switch to the second part. And that's really like, okay, so now you got your company kind of under control and what you're doing there, or at least you have a path forward. We really need to train you and make sure that we are educating you and your reps on why we are a leader in sustainability and how that it translates to customers, because we all see more and more, not only customers, but employees, investors, all of that, who are interested in, the sustainability piece of everything that they buy and all of the transactions that they do. So that's really where we're focusing now, is to make sure that you have the ability to be well versed when someone asks you as a rep and a partner, who has the best technology? Why is it the best? What are they doing? We want to make sure that they're really armed for those conversations. So this year we're expanding into more countries. And we're also expanding to distribution. We did not have the program available to distribution partners until this year, and we're really excited to be able to add all of them to the Amplify Impact program. Beyond that, from Amplify program itself, the framework that I talked about with the program and the 3 pillars gives us a really solid foundation to go do a lot of things for a lot of years without having to change the framework. Now what we need to do is to, I talked about how we've optimized for commercial resellers, distributors, and retail. Now we need to move past that, and we need to get to the value chain, and we need to be able to look at how we pay partners based on where they're participating in an opportunity. And it could be 4 different opportunities that they are participating in 4 different ways. And so if they're just involved in a sale, then we're going to pay them differently than if they're getting their customer success people involved and they're staying involved for 3 or 4 years. So we want to be able to look at creating flexibility in how and for what we actually are paying benefits to partners on. And we think that that's going to allow us not only better opportunities with our current partners, but it's going to help us to attract new partners in different areas that we need to be able to continue to grow the business, and to, as we grow our portfolio, make sure that we have the right types of partners to be able to support it.
Closing thoughts?
I think that the amount of opportunity is just amazing. I am really excited by the next few years. I think the pace of change is only going to increase, and our ability to stay one step ahead of that so that we can be the guiding light to partners on where they need to go and how we can help them get there is really what we're going to focus on and make sure that we're doubling down on. And so that's where I think that we'll spend the majority of our time over the next years.
Well, Mary Beth, again, thanks for your time. Thanks for taking the time to join me for today's podcast. For our viewing and listening audience, please make sure that you make the SmartTechCheck podcast part of your day or commute. Please make sure that you hit the like and subscribe buttons at the end of today's podcast, or use these convenient on-screen QR codes to connect with me and learn a little bit more about what you just heard. You can also follow me on Twitter, formerly known as X. No, actually, it's the other way around. Known as X, formerly known as Twitter. I get that confused all the time. I wish Elon Musk would straighten himself out from a branding standpoint. But you can connect on me on those using those codes. You can also follow me and at Mark Vina Tech Guy. And until next time, have a great week. And Mary Beth, thanks again for your time.
Thank you.